Hey photographer, Jessica Whitaker here, and I went on a 12-day expedition to Antarctica, which was an incredible bucket list experience. And in this video, I'm sharing with you the 2 lenses that I brought with me on this trip. I will have the lens information linked down below, as well as any other lenses that I mention and additional resources. It's all in the description box. And if you're curious how I packed up the gear in my carry-on and how I protected the gear when I was in Antarctica, that will be over on my Instagram account. The first lens that I brought with me, I actually am borrowing from KEH, and they are also kindly sponsoring this video. That's where you can buy vetted, quality checked used camera equipment. And this is a 100 to 400 millimeter f4.5 telephoto lens, and this is the newer version, the USM2. There's also the original version, which would be a USM1, which is actually the version of this lens. This is the 24 to 105 4.0 from Canon, and it's the original USM1. This is an incredible budget-friendly zoom. It's gone all around the world with me, and on my most recent trip to Asia, I went to South Korea for 10 days, and I only used this lens. This zoom is under $500, and it's incredible. I only reached for the 24 to 105 once on the trip out of all 12 days, and it was for 30 minutes. And I'll talk more about that in a second. This telephoto lens weighs about 3.5 pounds. It's nowhere near as heavy as other telephoto lenses that I've used before, and it was not bad at all to have to carry on my back. The weight really didn't bother me, and that is something that was very important to me, was that I could get the lightest lens possible with the best quality. This lens is not nearly as heavy as a monster telephoto lens such as a 400 millimeter 2.8, but it's also not as light as something like a 70 to 300 millimeter, or for example, this little guy. Let's talk about the price. So this exact lens is in excellent condition for $1,100, and if you were to buy it refurbished on Canon's website, you're looking at $2,200. It came with a lens hood, which I used on the trip, and it also came with the original Canon carrying case, which was so handy because I just put this directly in my suitcase. I mentioned that KEH let me borrow this lens for the Antarctica trip, and on their website, after they have a quality inspection of all of the gear, after it's tested, they rank it transparently on the website in a rating system. So it goes from, let's say, excellent plus, which is basically new, all the way down to bargain. And bargain's where you're gonna have some cosmetic scratches on the outside of the lens, not the glass at all, but just normal wear and tear on your gear. But because of that normal wear and tear, it's sold at a cheaper price point. And that's usually what I get most of my gear in, is the cheapest possible. This lens is very versatile. You can definitely use it for portrait photography. The only thing is it's not the best in low light. The time of year I went to Antarctica is in summertime for the southern hemisphere, so daylight was 20 hours a day. It wasn't something I was running into. The center of gravity does switch as you zoom, and that took a second for me to get used to. And then the other thing is that you do risk a higher chance of infiltration. In my experience shooting with Canon for over a decade, I have never worried so much about using my camera equipment in the rain when it comes to the Canon lenses and the Canon cameras. Now, I do have to be careful with Sigma lenses because they're not weather sealed. I live in Seattle, which is rainy a lot of the time, and I grew up shooting in the rain. And so for me, when we were out on these little Zodiac boats, I wasn't super concerned about a little bit of mist from the boat getting on the lens at all. If weight is a deal breaker for you, I have 3 alternatives that I will have linked down below, and I want to go over them really quickly in this video. I'm going to look at my screen because I don't want to get them wrong. There's a lot of numbers here. Number 1 would be the 70 to 300 millimeter f4 to 5.6 L lens. Technically this lens is an L, but the 100 to 400 millimeter is still better optically. The second option would be the EF 70 to 300 millimeter f 4.5 diffractive optics IS USM. Oh my gosh, the names are so annoying. This lens is very compact, but DO designs can exhibit a very funky flare in backlighting situations. Third lens is Sigma, so you want to double check that this is weather sealed because I don't think it is. It's the Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter f 5 to 6.3 DGOS sports for Canon EF. So this lens has great range and reach, but it's bulkier than the 100 to 400 millimeter, and it's also heavier at 4.25 pounds. Sigma has great lenses, amazing optics, but Canon L series lenses just have a better reputation for pro grade gear that can be used in the elements, like the rain, like the snow, like Antarctica. The max focal length for this lens goes up to 400 millimeters, and I never felt like it wasn't enough. Very, very seldom on the trip did I wish it could go to 600 millimeter, and that would only be in very specific circumstances. So I felt that the range was perfect for myself. If you're planning to go to Antarctica, it's definitely going to depend on your trip's expedition style, but on this trip, we were in the zodiacs, and so we were able to get really close up to the icebergs and the wildlife, being seals, penguins, and whales, because we were in these little zodiac boats. So 400 millimeters was more than enough. I mentioned that I used the 24 to 105 only in one instance, and that was when we were on the boat sailing through the Le Maire Channel, which is a very tight channel, and the mountains are massive on both sides of the ship and very close to us. In that instance, I was thankful to have something that was as wide as 24 millimeters because I was able to take some really amazing photos that I wouldn't have been able to achieve with a telephoto lens. I've thrown up sample images throughout this video, but now I'm gonna pop them up on a couple of slides on the screen. If you want better quality where you can zoom in and get more detailed, I'll also have the images linked down below in a blog post on my website. As you can tell, I love this lens. I'm so thankful that I was able to borrow it from KEH, and I will have KEH linked down below, as well as a coupon code. You can also sell used camera equipment of your own on the website and clear out those lenses that are taking up space in your camera bag or collecting dust on your bookshelf. You can sell it for cash or trade it in for something new. For additional Antarctica photography resources, pop on over to my Instagram account. And if you're a photographer who's looking to join a kind, encouraging, and inclusive photography community, come on over to my free Facebook group called Build and Bloom. This is the best place to ask questions about your specific photography business. So whether you need help drafting a response to a difficult client situation, or maybe now you're deciding between two lenses for your next trip, you can get specific and ask away in the Build and Bloom photography Facebook group. I've also launched season 3 of the Build and Bloom photography podcast, available for you to listen and learn wherever you get your podcast. I believe in you and I believe in your business. Be sure to hit subscribe to be the first to know when new videos for your business come out, and I'll see you in my next video. Click right here to watch and to learn. I'll see you there.